Good evening. Welcome to the Town Council Special Meeting, May the 6th, 2021. Can I get a roll call?
Buckles present.
Holloway present.
O'Brien present.
Grossman present.
Fulmer present.
Let it be known we've established a quorum. Vice Mayor Bennett is out of town this evening. He has sent in some comments on the items, and I will read those once we get to the items. First order of business is public comments. Agenda items only, 3 minutes.
There's nobody signed up, and I did not receive anything in writing prior to the meeting.
Okay. Item 3A, PPEA Utility Consultant Services Contract Award. Mr. Hosey, you're on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, we put out an RFP to get some expert help with us evaluating the unsolicited proposals that we received to acquire our water and wastewater utility. We received 5 proposals, and a selection committee narrowed that down to 3. We interviewed those 3, and then the one that we were recommending is New Gym, which is before you tonight. One of the committee, when it came down to these 3, after ranked them, basically there were 2 of them were tied, and New Gym was one of them. One that tied for first place. So this is what the committee suggested. One thing that we're not allowed to do in the solicitation by Virginia Code for a solicitation like this was ask for a price. You start with qualifications. You narrow it down to who you think is best, and then you can ask, or you can narrow it down to 2 or 3, and then you can ask for price information. So that's what we did. We narrowed it down to 3. Then we got the price information. We did a second round of interviews. The way it fell out, New Gem was like right in the middle on the price. So, as you know, we have the option to pass on these costs to the proposers to the amount of $50,000 each. Now that this is actual cost, we just can't bill them $50,000. It's actual costs. And just for an idea, of the 3 finalists, the most expensive one was $180,000. The cheapest one was $50,000, and the one we landed on was the middle one, which is $92,000. Now that includes everything except the last 2 items on the scope, which had to do with if we get to a point of needing a comprehensive agreement, and so those are things we couldn't really price out. So we're very close to the total amount. However, there is a provision within our policy to potentially pass on costs in addition to that if they can be substantiated. So we felt that this was the best option of the 3, and we're looking forward to getting some people on board who can really dig into this and tell us what's right, what's what, and what's not. And because some of the information we've been getting so far has been conflicting, and so we're excited to get this started and get the research going. So staff recommends approval of this contract.
John, Vice Mayor Bennett sent me an email. He had a couple questions. First, if the basic services are $92,000, will we be able to get the last 2 items funded within the $100,000 we are allowed to charge the proposers?
And that's what I just tried to explain. Yes, so we have probably not. Is the immediate answer. Trying to get it all in under the 100 is probably not. But I believe there is the option for us to legitimate cost above the 100 on. So I think we'll be okay.
Okay. All right. Staff recommendation is to enter in a contract with New Gen Strategies and Solutions for the PPEA Utility Consultant Services. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we proceed as recommended.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So just make sure I understand, when you went through the qualifications, 2 were in first place, or is that with the pricing as well?
So just the way the committee scored them, everyone picked their first, second, and third choice. in
Yeah.
that. And the way it worked out, the Nugent and another one, Daymark, tied as the committee's top two choices, is what I'm saying. And so the one that we're recommending was tied for the first choice of the committee, is what I'm saying.
Okay, but you had to have some kind of criteria that.
Right, yes, yeah, the criteria was based on the requirements, but it was in the RFP.
No, what I'm saying is, with those two tied, after all is said and done, you had to pick one of them. Was there something specific
Oh.
that pushed you into New Gen?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So what happened was, so the original scoring that I just described was the first round. Okay, that's what got us to top three. Then we requested additional information and the pricing and all that, and then we had another interview with just those three.
Right,
And it was in that interview that helped us.
separate.
Help separate,
Okay,
differentiate them,
all right.
yes.
What if one of the entities, now this covers two of our proposals that were received, right?
Correct.
What if one of them pulls out? Just when you go and say, okay, I need $48,000 from you, and they say, oh, we've changed our minds, what happens with this arrangement?
Well, the proposal, when we requested the price information, it was based on them evaluating two proposals.
Right,
So if one of them were to pull out, I would imagine that the overall cost of the evaluation would also drop, because they would only be evaluating one instead of two.
but would it
But-
drop to the point that it's below 50,000?
It would depend on when they dropped out. And so I guess my intended approach here is to, well, we need to evaluate them both up to a certain point, and we'll get progress billings up to that certain point, and we'll pass those on as they come in. So that when you get to the point of choosing one over the other, the bulk of the main part of the scope will already been accomplished.
Okay. Last I had was the Hampton Road Sanitation District flavor that's been coming in has nothing to do now. That's not a third option or something that we would consider having to fold in for that evaluation?
No. So I thought maybe I briefed this last meeting, but maybe I didn't. 2 meetings ago, I told you that we had interest from the Hampton Road Sanitation District to do a study, and they were going to try to time it so that study would come in about the time this work was done. I've since had a follow-up meeting with the actual executive director of the Hampton Roads Sanitation District, and when he got a good idea of what we were talking about, he thought that study was premature. So that's not going to happen. So that's what, remember I said I was going to have to bring you a resolution?
Right.
And that's why I didn't bring you a resolution, was because I think it was our local Eastern Shore rep that was a little more optimistic that this would happen, and when it was brought to the main body, they realized it probably didn't have legs yet. Now, one thing we did float as a possibility, and we're in no means committed to doing this, but should we move forward with one of these private entities, we could, as part of the negotiation for a comprehensive agreement, build in there the option for them to, the private entity, to contract with the sanitation district for a more regional facility. We could try to work out those those options, so that us doing this doesn't completely freeze out lower Northampton County.
Yeah, okay. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item up on the agenda, future town council elections.
So this is the clerk did all the heavy lifting on this one. I may need to rely on her for a little bit of detail if needed. But essentially what we found out is that we have 2 options. I mean, as you know, we have no option. The election's moving to November. What you have a choice on is which November. Whether we put it into the odd number year, which would be this year, or we wait and go to the even number year. There's pros and cons to both. Originally, we were concerned about going to the even number year because we thought then we would bear the brunt of the cost, where if we went to an odd number year, we would be sharing the cost with the state. But what we've since found out is that the even number years is when the federal elections are. So we're going to be sharing we'll be sharing the cost either way, whether you go odd or even. And to go with the odd, which would be this year, that would mean those of you, well, I mean, eventually all of you, would lose 6 months from your existing term. If you go to the even number, you would gain 6 months to your term. Gaining the 6 months is not a problem. If you try to reduce your term by 6 months, that's going to require a public hearing. So if you choose option 2, you cannot pass that ordinance tonight. If you choose option 2, you have to direct staff to schedule a public hearing for that ordinance. If you choose option 1, you can pass that tonight. So staff is recommending option 1. I don't want to lose any of you 6 months early. So, the cost is roughly the same, and it would really put things into a bind. But we still haven't scheduled a public hearing, then to pass the ordinance, then filing is in June. It'd be hard.
Too much work.
So the staff is recommending option 1.
I've got a staff recommendation of option 1. Can I get a motion?
I move we accept option 1.
Second.
Any discussion?
We got it.
All in
Well, you have to adopt the ordinance.
Yep. I move for the adoption of ordinance 2021-0506, providing for the election of mayor and town council members in November of even number years pursuant to the Virginia General Assembly mandate as of notice, and forego the reading of this ordinance. Roll call vote.
Buckholz, yes.
Holloway, yes.
O'Brien, yes.
Grossman, yes.
Fulmer, yes.
Let it be known it was unanimous. Item 3C.
Oh, just 1 second. Libby, thank you so much for
Yes.
putting
Yes.
this
Yeah.
together. It's a lot of detail.
Thank you very much.
We had to get all the
Yeah.
information. My first staff report was very confusing.
I thought that, well, the second version or third was very good, and I appreciate it. Okay, sorry.
They're fine. Item 3C, town council representative to Cape Charles Memorial Library Board.
I think this one's pretty easy.
Yeah, this is pretty self-explanatory. I think the natural fit is to have our current library board member fill the old council member's library board seat. So that's what staff's recommending.
So staff recommends Eileen to fill Chris's seat on the library board as our representative.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Councilwoman O'Brien.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And we will have to now advertise for the vacant seat that's created. Because
Okay.
you're not filling Chris's seat, not your seat.
Right.
All right,
Right.
thank you. Mr. Hosa, you got any comments?
I do, Mr. Mayor. Couple of things. We have a very odd procedure in our zoning ordinance. One of many things I hope to address later in the year. But what it says, if you want to amend the ordinance, whether you want to rezone something or want to amend text or anything in the chapter, it has to start with the council. You have to refer it to the planning commission, then they bring it back to you. It's kind of silly, I think, but we've been notified. We have 2 eminent requests. One is to rezone a parcel in the Harbor District from Harbor to Light Industrial to match the surrounding zoning, and to some text changes to the Light Industrial zone. Those requests will be coming forward very shortly. I would like your permission to refer both of those to the Planning Commission to start the public process. Any objection?
Nope.
I just needed to go on record and ask that.
Yep.
Okay,
Is there any way we can change that to make that happen?
we will. So I have 3 zoning procedures coming forward that I would like to address. The first one is dealing with Article 8 in the Historic District. So we have scheduled a joint public hearing with the Planning Commission on June 1st for Article 8 and Article 2, at which point the Planning Commission would be free to make the recommendation then, and then it would go to you that first meeting in June for adoption. So that's kind of the first zoning issue we're dealing with. The second one is the one I just mentioned. Once I get that in, we will try to get that scheduled for hearings immediately after that in June. After that, after all that dust settles from that, I would like to request, and you'll see it in the budget proposal coming forward, to hire a consultant to do a broader review of the entire zoning ordinance. There are many areas in there that are inconsistent or confusing. Some areas need to be updated with Virginia code. We just need to do a broad brush look at the entire thing, especially in light of changes with the historic district changes, and then bring forward a clean version of the existing ordinance. I want to be clear, it is not my intention to change land use designations in any way. That is not the purview of me or the council. Really, the Planning Commission starts with the Planning Commission. That's not where I want to go with this. I just want to be able to manage the existing land use designations effectively. And right now, the code is in dire need of a review and update. So we probably won't get to that till maybe late summer, but that's where we will address things like this.
On the first issue, where things have to originate, does that not originate in the state code? Because I know the county has to do the same thing.
So I'm having our zoning administrator look into that right now. She seemed to think that what's in our ordinance does not match current state code. And so that's one of the things we would fix.
Cool.
All right, moving on. I also, speaking of the library, I wanted to make an announcement tonight. This will be posted on Facebook and announced also more widely. But we're going to start expanding the library activity. The Eastern Shore libraries are doing that, so we're following suit. This will starting next Monday. Right now, we are only open from 10 till 2. We only allow 2 people in for half an hour at a time. Starting Monday, we'll be going 10 till 4, except on Tuesdays when we'll go 10 till 6. We'll be letting 10 people in for an hour at a time. And we'll be still doing the other things that we're doing, with pickup and all that. So we are starting to open things up a little bit. It's kind of in line. The governor's relaxing some of his restrictions as of the 15th. So it's kind of in line with that and with what the rest of the shore is doing on the library. So I just wanted to make an announcement about that, and we'll be putting that out on Facebook and other places too. Next thing, Mason Avenue parking. As you are aware, we are in the process of trying to reverse the reverse. We have a consultant on board right now who is helping us design the design exception to DOT that will allow us to do that. Last week, they contacted us with an idea, as an option, that I have met with Main Street on today about to get get their initial thoughts on. But I'm not asking you to make a decision about it tonight. I'm just going to tell you about it and get whatever feedback you might want to offer now about it. Right now, we have back-in parking. We want to try to make it pull-in parking angle. That requires a design exception. What our consultant is telling us is that if we made it 90-degree, perpendicular parking, pulling straight in, that does not require a design exception, and we can move forward quicker. It also means more spaces. However, in my opinion, there's several drawbacks to that. I don't know that it's as safe. The other benefit is that it makes the parking more accessible from both lanes of travel. So no matter which way you're going, being able to pull in is easier. That's one of the benefits. One of the drawbacks, I believe, is that if you're in a spot and there's cars parked on either side of you, you cannot see the traffic until you're into the traffic lane. Not only that, but I think either whether you're pulling in or pulling out, you would not only obstruct the westbound lane, but the eastbound lane as well. So that's not ideal. The other thought in this was that as part of the design exception for angled parking, we were going to try to limit the size of the vehicle on the north side of the street, because that's becoming a problem with people being able to see. If we try to do this without a design exception, there wouldn't necessarily be that restriction, which meant we could still have long vehicles in there. Now, I don't know if we can make that a requirement as well. Maybe we can. I haven't looked at that yet, but the thing is that our contract with our engineer right now only has enough hours for one or the other. They can pursue one or the other, not both, right now. So I hit the pause button on their work until I had a chance to talk to some folks and see what they thought. Met with Main Street today. They're going to try and check with a couple other businesses, see, get the pulse of them. And not that I'm asking you to make a decision right now, but if any of you have any thoughts that you'd like to offer on that concept, I'm all ears.
I agree with you. I don't think the 90-degree parking I don't think it's safe, and however we end up, I support the restriction on longer vehicles. So basically, option A that we've been pursuing, I guess, with the design exception.
Now, the only other caveat I'll offer is that, again, requesting a design exception doesn't mean we're going to get it, whereas the 90 degree is kind of a for sure thing. So that's just part of the pro and con argument.
Right.
So,
I'm for the angled parking,
okay,
not 90.
not 90, okay. Any other comments? Okay.
How would you restrict larger vehicles? I mean, how would that work?
You would post it, you would put signage up restricting it to certain, like if you go to a parking garage and says, compact cars only or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would do it, but
No trucks.
yeah, that's basically it. Having full-size trucks in there stick out pretty far. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of where we are. I'm going to wait to hear back from Main Street on that. I'm leaning towards sticking with the original plan anyway, so unless I hear a big push otherwise, that's probably what I'll do. I'm not hearing a big push otherwise from you. If I don't hear a big push otherwise from Main Street, then I'll probably just continue where along the path that we're going.
How many spaces are there on that?
I knew someone was going to ask me that, and I didn't bring it with me.
And then how many more would we get? And
I'll get that to you.
When we originally did that, we gained 34 parking spots. Since then, we lost 7 or 8 due to handicap parking. So,
And we're going to lose some here too, because we have to change the angle. We have to go from 60 to 45,
right.
and there's some other DOT issues in there. So we are going to
90's less.
we're going to lose a little bit of space around the edges, if you will. But part of the design, concept is that there's spaces around the edges. We're going to try to work in golf cart parking there, so that we take advantage of as much of the space as we can. I will get you the information on that.
John, it's not specifically about the angle, but, in front of, blanking on the new ice cream place's name. Cowlicks. There are 2 spaces that aren't spaces marked, and they really should be parking places, because it was that way because that's how you used to get into the parking lot of the building that was there.
I parked there all the time.
You
I
know,
do too, but I think it could help us in a short term, even if we just had a little, look.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2 really good spaces, and I feel like there's one
You're right.
like that up further, right? Like in front of
In front of the hair salon.
hair salon, the same thing. And I'd love to just, if we can just temporarily get them marked. I mean, those are valuable spots, and they're always open. I mean, I park illegally.
I was gonna say it.
yeah, you're ruining the best kept
Yeah,
secret
We
there.
have just had it on film. We all park illegally. You too can park there.
You know what? I think I will double check and see. Maybe we just make that part of this.
Yeah, that's what I was
This
just
thing
saying,
that goes
yeah.
forward, that we have those designated as well.
Yeah.
Because it's all got to go through DOT.
Yeah, because Jimmy and I finally figured it out why, because we were like, why aren't they marked? And we're like, oh, that was the entrance, kind of an exit into what was there before. So I was like,
Grocery store.
Yeah.
yeah,
And the
okay.
developer falsely told told the tenants of the commercial spaces that that was a loading zone.
Yes, yes. And when the parking committee did work together, you know, we talked about loading zones quite a bit. And there was no real solution on Mason for that. So we had marked those as spaces, you know, to count them in. And I just want to make sure we don't lose that in the process of redoing.
Okay.
You know, I want to say this, and I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Changing the angle and all of that's great. We're changing everything. And I know what I say here right now ain't gonna make a difference. But I think we're not thinking far enough into the future. And really, parking is gonna become more and more of a premium. And I still say we ought to go one way. We ought to look at.
I've already explored that. That was my first.
If we can go one way down Mason, pick your poison. Have them come straight in on Randolph and circle back around, or have them
We
go.
were told,
And that's what we did,
I did-
right?
we were told by we did do that in our parking, that was one of our very first suggestions. And we were told, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that the reason it couldn't be done is because of the firehouse.
Well, but you're right. You're right.
Okay.
You're 100% right. But
Okay.
I'm not buying it. They could do it in major cities. One way's all over the place, and they do it because of parking restrictions. And that's why, so people can park
Yeah.
on both sides of the streets, and there's still room
Yeah.
for something to go through. I just don't think we're thinking far enough
No,
forward.
I mean,
Well-
a lot of people agree with that. No,
We're,
without doubt.
we're all of like mind, Mr. Mayor. We all agree with you, but it was checked before, then I didn't know that they had done it, so I checked again. DOT will not allow it. They claim that it's not just for emergencies, but it's considered a major road, and it also, is that, and according to them, it would create more circulation traffic around the other blocks around there. For whatever reasons, we would have to do something similar to what we're doing now with parking and have to put together a design exception and hope that it passed. So I agree, I can't agree with you more. I think that makes perfect sense. Have one way down Randolph, one way up Mason. You wouldn't need to change the angle of the parking then, right?
Take out Peach and take out Monroe. Every street going this way, every other street ought to be one way going east to west, and then going, all the fruit tree streets ought to be north and south every other way, and just make it all one way. It would eliminate all of our boat parking problems, it would eliminate every problem we got.
Now, we have a big problem with golf carts, because all the kids be confused with the street. One way to drive. You go down the wrong way.
You can't read.
Guys, you know,
And
I agree.
go ahead.
on that, to kind of back up the fire department a bit, because I spoke with the chief about it too.
Yeah.
There's a fire
If we are headed, so if we had one-way traffic on Mason headed towards the water, some of those bigger trucks, they would have to drive all the way down to Bay to be able to make the turn.
Yeah.
And in the summer, with all the traffic, you're adding a couple minutes to their response time, which in a fire is not insignificant. So I do buy what they say.
Yeah, that was what I think you were the person, we brought Chief Pruitt in
Yeah.
on our parking committee for that.
Well, this was the fire chief I talked
Yeah.
to,
Oh, right, yeah.
but I think Jimmy
They had
agreed.
consulted, yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience, riding on the back of a Salisbury fire truck, I've been down Taylor one-way streets,
Yeah.
and they can turn at that fire truck, any fire truck they got in that building can make Strawberry Street easy,
Yeah,
if it's one way.
yeah.
That's-
Yeah, it's making the other places the one
So
way.
if they gotta go down to Strawberry Street and come back out Randolph or either or.
If it was within our control, we would do it.
Mhm,
But we agree with you, Mr. Mayor.
mhm.
It's part of, it's the main, it's VDOT, it's the main artery for VDOT. So it's bad, and believe it or not.
So, anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off, I just wanted to throw my 2 cents worth in.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's all I have on anything else on parking? And then the last thing I just wanted to touch on is the budget. Next Thursday will be our work session. Apologize for the lateness of it. It's proven to be more challenging than I realized, trying to get it reconfigured the way I wanted it reconfigured to match some of the processes we talked about in the fall, trying to strip out capital from operations, and so you can look at a number and it's not all convoluted because it's all dumped into one number, but everything is tied to something else, and our system just isn't designed to do that, and we started late. Anyway, I'm making a bunch of excuses, but still, so I'm still working to try and get it put together, and I apologize, I'm not going to be able to get it to you very far in advance of Thursday, hopefully 1 or 2 nights in advance. It's my intention to walk through it very carefully with you on Thursday, so my biggest regret is that Councilman Grossman won't get it a week in advance, because
I need it 2 days ahead.
he's the one I need to look, he finds so many of my mistakes. It's better for him to get it far in advance. So I'll get it as best, I'll do it as best I can. Should be working on it this weekend, but I'm gonna go see my mom instead, so.
That is a good decision, I wanted to tell you that today.
So,
I get to do that.
yeah, bottom line, no surprises. The rather grim picture I painted during strategic planning is coming out the way I painted it at strategic planning.
Oh my goodness, we didn't get the leprechaun to leave.
So,
What the heck?
and that, and the fact we're exploring ideas about how to generate additional revenue, but those can't happen in the time we have left. So we're still going to pursue them, and we're still going to try to come up with other ways more innovative ways to generate revenue, but it may have to be something that we do after the fact. I did talk to the treasurer about this today, and we think when you set the tax rate for property tax, we don't really use it until October. And so technically, if we needed to raise property tax rates a certain amount now to balance the budget, and we could come up with another revenue source between now and October, we could do a budget amendment to lower the rate back down again and use the other revenue source. That buys us some time. But for now, really, the only thing big enough to absorb the levels that we're talking is probably property tax in the amounts that we discussed at strategic planning. So it's pretty significant. Same thing with the utility fund. Rates are going to have to go up because there's just no place to go with that. So, yeah, not going to be fun. Not going to be fun. But we knew that was coming.
At the strategic planning, we were just using the historical figure for organic growth due to additional houses and all, and obviously that's going to go up quite a bit. Is the budget going to reflect what's realistically being planned and what has been permitted?
As far as revenue goes?
Yes.
That's the other problem. The county is behind their, there's a lag. You're right. There's a lag. But even the regular one is usually out by spring, by March, at the latest. We don't have it yet. And when we ask them about it, they're not projected to get it to us until June. I don't even know what it's going to be. So again, I don't know what to plan for. So we may be making last minute adjustments right before you adopt it. Those sorts of things. So I'm conservative by nature. I'm going to plan conservatively, and we'll adjust as we get better information.
The only thing we're gonna see more of an increase are basically permitting fees.
Those are up, yes.
Those are way up.
But that's not gonna move the dial very much, no.
You mean this year, because there's a year lag on new houses?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
the tax, it doesn't hit the tax roll for
Right.
about a year. It's been that way forever.
Oh, yeah.
It's a trickle down, and we're at the mercy of the county. We always have that. This reared its head a couple of years ago, and I made that same question, and it just lags so far behind, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, John, I'm gonna go, I got a couple comments. Last couple weeks, been a little bit busy as mayor. I sat in on a round table discussion with a bunch of mayors and board of supervisors from Congressman Loria's district, with Congressman Loria on a Zoom meeting. Topic of discussion was the Americans Care Act and COVID, of course, and how we were dealing with it and what we were going to use the funds for. Well, of course, everybody said we really don't know because we don't know what the funds we can use for, so, we haven't got any, feedback yet. She said she was going to reach out, to the, Department of Treasury to see if we can't get some sort of insight. She knew we were in budget season, but she really didn't know we were that deep into budget season, so it kind of jogged her memory a little bit, and it pushed her. Actually, she offered, we didn't push anything, we just told her we were, you know, it's budget season, so we don't know how to go to budget. I don't know if you've been heard, have you heard from?
Not from them, just from some regular emails from VML. Some of the things that we weren't sure of, well, we knew that the Treasury Department wasn't going to release the rules until May, which all of us have fiscal year budgets. May is too late. As I was actually, thank you, Ms. Mayor, that's the point I was going to make. That's something else I cannot account for in this budget yet. I don't know what we may or may not get, or what the restrictions on that money might be. Yeah, but the one thing that we weren't sure of, that we think we know now, is that the money will need to be appropriated by the General Assembly, which is going to slow things down. So whether or not, if it was going to be a straight pass-through it wasn't going to go through the county, it was going to go through the state, but the General Assembly is probably going to have to appropriate it. So that's going to slow things down too. So basically, for my budget purposes right now, I'm not planning on it at all. We'll do a budget amendment once we get it and we know what we can use it for. Then we'll plan on what we're going to do with it.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, something else that come out of that meeting, which we very much well know here in Cape Charles, is, lack of people wanting to employ their bodies at a workplace. And it can be contributed to a lot of things. But we're not the only area suffering through that. I know Williamsburg is, and multiple other areas, that they were all the mayors were on this thing, and everybody kind of had the same thoughts, that it's just
Worse
tough
than ever.
getting people to come back to work, for multiple reasons. Some's probably still scared of catching COVID. Some's probably enjoying their time off, just taking it for all it's worth. But I know, is speaking with the restaurants and stuff around here, I mean, they're sharing. There's staff, these wait staff and kitchen staff is bouncing from restaurant to days they're off in one restaurant, they're going to work to another restaurant, and I don't know if their bodies can handle that on Sunday, to be honest with you.
No, that's what you call a good hustler. That's someone who wants to make money. I mean, if they gotta stop giving out the money, people go back to work. That's called
Right. But one restaurant owner told me they're talking about closing down 2 days a week, because they just can't
Well,
do
we
it.
have several that aren't opening for lunch because they can't staff.
Right.
And so, and it's, this year, what I've noticed more, it's not just restaurants. I mean, it is our retail in particular. You don't hear it as much normally. We always hear it this time of year for restaurants. And I know it's worse, but when you start hearing about it in that depth of retail shops as well, it's really bad.
Right, I mean, when I was over at the Worcester Farm, they had over 100 employees,
Yeah,
and right now, they ain't got anywhere close to that.
no,
That included the marina
yeah.
and the vacation rentals, that included everything associated with the Worcester Farm, but still, we just need people to work. So I don't know what they're gonna do. It's a problem, and I hope it all works its way out, but right now, it's a problem, so.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just comment, back tag team on that a little bit, just on my list for update was Main Street has just appointed Ken Buda, who in his former life, as you guys may remember, as a principal worked on workforce programs. So it's not a quick fix, but we're trying to get him in line with the community college, the middle school, the high school, to work out partnerships, mentorships, things that we're constantly building the right set of skills at these different levels, so that we're starting young, and we won't see the results for many, many years to come, but if we don't start now, we'll never see, some of those results. So, he's our co-chair of Economic Vitality. He came on board and is gonna get started on that right away. So that's kind of who to funnel some of those anything that you have or you see, he's so excited and ready and eager to help. So I just wanted to, it's not a quick fix, but
And
it's kind of moving in the right direction at least.
again, it's kind of like parking, we gotta think for the
Yeah,
future, so.
yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah.
And other things, I just want to thank Jim Lewis and staff for the blessing of the fleet. It was a really good turnout, so thank you very much. And also, Jen, you got anything to touch on? We got Cape Charles Day coming up here in a few weeks.
Cape Charles Day will be June the 12th, so I hope everybody can come out. I'm still working on the details, but the shredder truck will be here. Libby got them secure. We have live music. I'm still working on the food. I know I've been a little late reaching out to, actually the organizations are reaching out to me, which is great that they're going to be there, so we should have a great turnout. I think everybody's going to be ready just to get out. So I think it's going to be high attendance. So,
And maybe not like freezing wind. you
yeah,
know.
sorry, sweetie, but it's going to be the best one.
And- So anyway, that's all I've got. Councilman Fulmer?
Not much, just I want to say I noticed, I know, John, you were beating yourself up on the budget, but I've noticed, you all have been working really hard, and I see Deb's car, since I live right on this Mason Avenue, Deb's car is there late every night. I've been getting a lot of late evening responses from Libby on questions, so town staff, I think, are really, they're putting in the extra effort in this crazy hectic time and sort of the crossroads we're at, so I just think that needs to be acknowledged and say thank you.
Thank you.
I had one item. We met today, the Accomack Northampton County's Regional Housing Study Committee that has a grant. We awarded a contract, so we went through an evaluation. And so that study will occur tentatively July through December. And that's a real in-depth, they haven't done it since 2003. So it's on its way to really give a good housing picture here in two counties.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman O'Brien?
Nothing.
Nothing? Sure? Come on, Chris would have
No.
something
I
to
know I
say.
You had plenty of time, he only said 6 years. So it was all about the library, too.
I know.
Councilwoman Holloway, you want to add to what
Yeah, just a couple of things, exciting things. I don't know if everyone's heard, but Cape Charles was awarded 34 Best of Virginia from Virginia Magazine businesses. So it's up from 27 last
Wow.
year.
Wow.
34 total this year, and that includes things like, the beach and some other public spaces as before. Main Street did a 2-page spread like we did last year. So we are getting some extra copies. We'll make sure that everybody has one as soon as we get those in. And trying to capitalize on that. A press release is going out and some things like that. But that's incredible. I didn't think we could ever get more than 27.
No, I didn't either, that's awesome.
And the guy was like, "You're gonna be really happy." So that was good. And then 3 other ways in which we were picked up on Southern Living. Again, Forbes listed Cape Charles in their list of best small towns kind of in America, and AAA, another coverage in AAA. So some good things and good representation of what Cape Charles is. Which is great.
I think that ties into your conversation about parking.
Yes, exactly, because we have built it and they're coming.
Yes, they are.
That's it.
Councilman Buckholz?
How's Streetzilla coming along?
Huh?
The street sweeper thing, how's that
Oh,
coming?
Oh,
Franken-Sweeper.
yeah, Frank,
Frankenstein.
it's either Franken-Sweeper or Vacuum-Stein, depending
Yeah,
on
that's
which one.
right. That's
It's kind of taken the back burner. It's about 80% done. So, yeah. We have everything we need. It's just a matter of putting it all together.
Anybody have any more comments?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We got a motion, we got a second, all in favor to stay? All in favor?
All right.
Opposed?